built in the first half of the 14th century, St. Nicholas Church is the oldest Catholic cult building in Lithuania. Despite the rebuilds, the overall Gothic expression of the church has survived to date. The symmetrical main facade consists of two sections. The bottom one is enriched by plastered niches and a window above the arched portal. The stair pediment is also decorated with a niche composition. Very rare Lithuanian examples of Gothic paintings of the heavenly vault have survived on the church vaults. They believe that St. Anne's Church was completed in 1581. It is a late Gothic temple of complex, dynamic forms, quite rare in Lithuania. The sharply tapering arches and compositions of narrow, rectangular verticals, the play of turrets and pinnacles on the main facade create an extremely strong, dynamic impression. The profiled buttresses of the presbytery section transform into turrets, reminding the ones of the main facade that are decorated with spikes and buds. The interior of the single-nave church is much more modest. The Gothic vaults covering the church are worth noting. By its abundant and diverse Gothic architecture, Kaunas is ahead of the capital. In the 15th century, during the prosperity period of this merchant town, the so-called House of Pirkunas, the oldest city house, was built. The former merchant's house predominantly stands out most because of its pediment, which may deservedly be considered a most charming brick Gothic example of Lithuanian secular architecture. A frieze strip, decorated with profiled brickwork, separates the dynamic pediment from the lower facade part. Interestingly, the bay window protruding in the facade was often used for defensive purposes in the buildings at that time. The first floor had retail and storage areas, and the second floor was residential. The Ensemble of St. George the Martyr Church and Bernardine Monastery in Kaunas is among the few Gothic complexes having survived in Lithuania. They believe that, commenced in 1471, the construction was completed at the beginning of the 16th century. The front facade of the church faces the Nemunas, so it is predominantly static, and the presbytery facing the city center features a dynamic, complex composition. It adds uniqueness to the church and showcases the brick Gothic diversity. Indoors, beneath later layers, unique wall paintings have been found. The monastery and the church hug an enclosed courtyard. The facades highlight the typical Gothic elements: pointed arch windows, niches, profiled brick portals, and strips. The masonry is enriched with typical Gothic patterns of burnt bricks. They believe that Zapyškis Church was built in the second half of the 16th century. It is one of the few Gothic churches in Lithuania to escape the influence of subsequent architectural styles. The solution of the main three-stage facade is based on pointed arch niches. The pediment, the most impressive part of the facade, features a composition of rectangular, pointed arch and round niches. The side facades include two sections and have windows, buttresses arranged between windows, and niches.